Hi, everybody. Let's see, is everything working? It would appear that everything is working a-okay. Here's Dob, and we've got just a few minutes left. And where did the chat window go? I had the chat window open like a second ago. Oh, I'm a big dummy. Such a dummy. There it is. Okay, more comments below. Oh, Dob. I just woke Dob up to come over here so she could say hi to everyone. I don't know if she's going to have much patience for all of this silliness. But hi, I assume everyone can hear me okay. I've turned all my volume off so as not to get the crazy echoing. And I'm sure within 30 seconds, someone will let me know if everyone can hear me a-okay. A pirate's life for me. Dob, it's my passion. Oh, this is so weird. I'm here completely by myself. Jen is still in England. And it's on. Sir Bob Game says it's on. Oh. Yes, okay, it's all good. Okay, cool. And what time is it? How much time do we have left? Oh, I need to bring up the Kickstarter page. 94 seconds, 93 seconds. Oh, that's nice. There's a countdown. Okay. Hi, everybody. That was all a bunch of gobbledygook. And here we are with 85 seconds left to go. This is all very silly and impromptu. I probably should have announced this days ago, but it literally only occurred to me, whatever it was, an hour or so ago. And I mean, I'm really just sitting around, not really doing too terribly much on my 47th birthday. I was born in '69. And I filmed a run through earlier today, taking a dog for a walk, fed her. And I thought, well, I'm not doing much else other than waiting for it to get dark so I can watch a movie or something like that. I'm thinking about watching The Revenant tonight. And we'll see how all that goes. But 46 seconds, 45 seconds. And thank you, everybody. Happy birthday to anybody else whose birthday it might be. I'm sure there must be somebody out there. That'd be pretty cool. Or happy whatever day it might actually be for you at this very moment. 30 seconds, Dob. So Jen is in England right now. Right now, probably on a train heading from the Midlands down to Guildford. Again, we did not time this very well. If I had been smart, I would have made this in 3 hours later so that Jen could actually Skype in or hang out in so she could be here too. But she is in transit. And here we go, Dob. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woohoo! Okay. All right. And there we go. So that was it. What's the final number? I do not know. Scrolling up. 51,938. Almost hit 52, Dob. But at the last minute, there's always people who are, backing out and whatnot. So, but 52,938, that's a big jump from last year's, what was it, 3,700. 2388 backers. Last year, I think it was 1666. Dob, did you look scared? Yeah, I think I'm going to let Dob down now. She probably wants to go back to have her nap. She had just eaten, so she's still in the process of digesting. Okay, let's see here. How is everything working? I've got windows all over the place. Yep. Okay, well, folks, this is a Q&A. If you have any particular questions, by all means, let me know. I'll be doing in the Google chat window or the YouTube chat window a search for question marks so that I can find them easily. But I will also try to actually just bring the laptop up here. This will probably make life a little bit easier instead of using Jen's laptop. Let's see here. And I'll also be checking the actual thread on the Kickstarter page. And there is a question from Go For It, who would like me to consider doing a Periscope school episode or maybe a couple. And he's giving me his or her cutest smile in the hopes I'll say yes. I imagine we will definitely give it a go. It's actually interesting. The idea popped in my head a little while ago because Jen and I were talking about so many people have said now that even after the Kickstarter is over, I should set up a Patreon page because there's always people who come in a day or a week or a month later saying, hey, I'd like to back too. And why don't I do a Patreon page? I've never really wanted to do one because I don't like doing a lot of self-promotion and whatnot. I'm just not crazy about it. And I don't want to, at the end of every video I do, say, hey, everybody, be sure to comment down in the threads below and subscribe and give me a thumbs up and check out my Patreon page. And that kind of stuff makes my skin crawl. But it did occur to me that it wouldn't be too terribly obnoxious just if at the beginning of every video I have, just a little thing pops up, the little eye in the top right corner saying the want to help Rahdo run. And I could just go to the Patreon page. So that's just there for people who would like to get voting rights and missed. You know, could just do a simple thing of, you know, $1 a month for one vote, 2 for 2, 3 for 3, 4 for the whole thing. But I was thinking if we're going to do that, then there should be some kind of unlocks. And the two that popped into my head were, one, a monthly Q&A like this, and the other one, the Periscope School, which I think would be actually pretty cool. And I've wanted to do Periscope for a while. I just hadn't really thought of anything kind of interesting to do with it. So that's the thinking. I imagine at some point in the near future, we'll try a Periscope thing, see how it works. And that would be Go For It's question. And I don't see any more questions on the Kickstarter page. And so I'll switch back over to the YouTube page, and let's start doing a search. Control F question mark. How many board games do I own? It's probably 350 or so. You can actually go to games.rahdo.com, and there's a full list of well, not a full list of everyone I own, but it's a full list of everyone I've owned that I've played and rated. And then I think on top of that, there's like another 50 or 60. You can actually look at my collection on Board Game Geek, and every single game I have in this house is listed there. All righty. Next up, do you have enough games you like to make a top 10 cooperative dungeon crawls with character progression? I don't think so. No, not at this point. I think that'd have to be like a top 3 or maybe 5. So I don't think I could quite pull off a 6 with that. Let's see. Will you be visiting us in 2016? Yes, Jen and I will both be there. And like last year, Jen will be setting up a stand selling her gamer glass. Last year, the fine folks at Ludi Creations gave her a little bit of space. This year, it's going to be NSKN Games. And, you know, if you subscribe to Jen's website newsletter, which you can get to at jennifer.net, JENEFER.NET, she'll give notices when the information and whatever contest she's going to do. She always does contests, and I'll be there as well, just running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to collect a bunch of games to bring them back to do run-throughs for. How often do you play board games with other people than just me and Jen? Not very. There's a lovely British couple who comes over once every 3 months or so because they've got a house that they're renovating here in Malta. So they visit every 3 or 4 months and spend a week or two on that. And generally when they come over, we get maybe like 1 game day with them. There's probably 15 people I know in the entire country of Malta who play board games. And maybe once every 6 or 7 months, we end up getting to play with them because they'll come over here to where we are in Gozo, or we'll go over there and play with them in Malta. And then maybe, interestingly, once every couple of months, somebody contacts me and say, hey, we're going on vacation in Malta and we're big board game fans. Would you mind if we swung by and played a game with you? And 9 times out of 10, Jen and I will say yes to that. In fact, there's going to be a couple coming by later this week, and I have to figure out what I'm going to play with them. So not very often, but every once in a while. With my vast experience of games, can you expect a Rahdo design board game? No, you cannot. And if you'd like to know more about that, you can go to fac.rahdo.com. One of the questions near the bottom of the page is, hey, what about a Rahdo design game? My game designing days are behind me, I'm sorry to say. Let's see. What constitute a hybrid game for me? Blood Rage, Kemet, Middle-earth Quest, Carnival Zombie, Mage Knight are hybrids because they're Amerithrash. Oh, it's a Dice Tower fan here. Are they excluded? I need to turn on word wrap here. Format, word wrap. All right, let's find that again. Thrash. There's that question. Okay. Are they excluded? The notion of a hybrid game between Euro and Ameritrash. I mean, obviously, there's no hard and fast rule. There's no hard and fast rule for what a Euro is, or an Ameritrash game for that matter. So it's kind of hard to, define then what the bridge between those two things. But actually, when I recently did my top 10 economic games with Tom Bassel, it really hit home for me that I think more than anything else, that's what really defines. A Euro game is effectively synonymous with an economic game. Euros, I think, more than anything else, they really have a strong focus on economics of whatever simulation. And that's not true 100%. But I think an Ameritrash game then is going to be a game that has a lot of storytelling, a lot of combat, a lot of flavor text, and at the same time a rich and robust economy built in. I think that might be, I'm not sure about this, I haven't thought about that much, but I'm inclined to think maybe that's your definition of a hybrid. And so yeah, something like what do you call it? Cyclades or Cyclades, however you pronounce it, where it's an area control war game, but it's got this very cool economic auction thing. That's a really great example of a really great hybrid. Or Robinson Crusoe is another really strong hybrid because it has lots of storytelling driven gameplay where, hey, draw the card and see what happens, like an Arkham Horror or an Eldritch Horror. But then it also has the economy of having to use all your resources to stay alive and do all the tech tree stuff. I mean, I don't know if that answers the question, but that, I guess, is my rough off the cuff feeling about what constitutes a hybrid game. Let's see. What is my favorite Marvel film? Have I watched the Netflix Daredevil series? Yes, I have watched the first season of Netflix Daredevil. I actually, with Jen gone, I just started watching the second season now. I'm up to like episode 5. I also watched Jessica Jones. I like both Daredevil and Jessica Jones. I think they're both great series, but I think for both of them, they should have been 6 or 8 episode long seasons. And just to make it a bit tighter and just a bit more pacey, maybe because they're filling out whatever it is, 12 or 13 episodes long. I do think that there were some dry spells that just, and some filler that didn't need to be there. I think they would have been wise to cut the fat, but the core stuff that was happening in both those series I thought was fantastic. For my favorite Marvel film, well, I imagine it's going to be Civil War because that just looks absolutely amazing. But in lieu of that, well, I mean, obviously, Avengers was great. And I really liked Avengers too. I mean, I know a lot of people were down on it, but I thought it was really good. I might actually say Iron Man 3. I think my gut feeling is that's where I'm going to go with Iron Man 3 because it was just so far out there. It really, oh, no, of course, Ant-Man. Totally Ant-Man, followed by Iron Man 3, probably followed by Captain America, First Avenger. Those would be my top 3, I think. Boop. Boop. Did you ever update the math trade videos? If not, can you? No, I haven't. As far as I know, things really have not changed that much in the math trade world. I know the interface on the online want list generator has gone through a few iterations and whatnot, but the core mechanisms of that system are still in place. About the only significant thing that's changed is when I did the video, I made a strong point that it's a big no-no not to delete files from the geek list once you've added them, because that would mess things up. My understanding is that's no longer an issue, and you can go on ahead and delete to your heart's content. But otherwise, it hasn't really changed much. So I haven't really seen much reason to do an update for it or a complete redo. Have I ever played Crokinole? Have you ever considered buying a Crokinole board? Yes, Jen and I did play Crokinole once. The very first Essen we ever went to must be 5 years ago. We just sat down and played it. We thought it was actually very cool. Neat, fun little game, but not neat enough to pay the money to buy one. There's no place on the shelf for it. I don't think we'd be the type to hang it on a wall as a piece of wooden art. I mean, they're lovely, they're gorgeous. It's a fun, silly little game, but I mean, we already have. I mean, if we want to play a disc flicking game, we'll play Catacombs. And even if we had Crokinole, I think if we wanted to play a disc flipping game, we'd play Catacombs. And if not that, we'd play Rampage. I just don't think Crokinole would get much play from us. Let's see. Dark Souls, the board game excitement level. I didn't play the video game at all, although I understand if I were still playing video games, it's definitely the type I would like. But I haven't really looked at it at all. So I'd have to say at this point, excitement level low, but just because I haven't seen much about it yet. ETT. Where would you like to live after leaving Malta? Let's see. Personally, my favorite place I've ever lived in my life was Seattle, and I would love that to be a final destination. That's more kind of final destination. And I know Jen feels the same way about London to a certain extent because she loves London so much. But, and we both really like Malta, but we know we're not going to stay here forever. Probably #1 place in the world I would definitely like to live before settling down once and for all, and I bet you this would be high in Jen's list too, would be New Zealand. I think for both of us, that's definitely a bucket list, not just to visit, but to live there. Favorite hobby besides board gaming? TV, movies. I don't really have a lot of hobbies besides board gaming. Walking the dog. We used to do a lot of geocaching, but don't really do that much anymore. We used to scuba dive a lot. We don't really do that much anymore, which is ironic because we live right across the street from one of the more popular dive sites in all of Malta, and yet we've been here for almost 3 years and we've never dived. Yeah, these days, in terms of hobbying, this pretty much consumes everything. And I'm just a diehard couch potato. I watch dozens of hours of TV every week. Just love it to death. All righty. And Jen, she reads a lot. She is a voracious reader. She'll sit down with a big, thick book and finish it in just big old marathon 6-hour sessions and just bang through books like nobody's business. Would it be possible to see the trifecta of board game creators? Tom, Rodney, and me. Oh, that's very nice. I'm in the trifecta. Playing games live and doing top 10s together. Well, I think that's actually impossible because I don't think you would ever get Rodney Smith of Watch It Played to do a top 10 because he steadfastly refuses to give his opinion about anything. Now, for my money, I think that's a little iffy because I think just by choosing games and doing them, he's actually saying something about those games as a general rule. But still, putting that aside, he's got a strong editorial policy. He will never say boo. He'll never give any opinion about any game. So I don't think he would ever do a top 10 unless it was going to be a top 10 about stuff other than favorite types of games. Maybe he'd do a top 10 art or something like that, but sure, that's not what people would like to see. So I just think it fundamentally can't happen. I'd certainly love to play a game with all three of them, and I'd love to do a top 10, but you'd have to, Rodney would be the barrier to entry on that dream. Let's see. What games are you most interested in trying this year? To answer that question, you can go to, do I have a URL shortcut for it? I don't think I do. I keep a list of all the games I'm excited about, and I talk about it every month in my podcast. How would you find it? You can go to board game. You can just go to my guild. Go to guild.rahdo.com, and at the very, very top of that page, there's a list of links. One of them is 2016 games of interest. And you'll find all the ones I'm interested in right there. By far, my number one game I can't wait to get is Gloomhaven. I did a run through for the prototype last year. I cannot wait to play the real deal. I'm super stoked about it. I have not stopped being excited about it. But I think that's a list of 5 or 6 pages of games I'm super stoked about, and I'm updating it all the time. So you can go check that out. And let's see. So that was it as of when I did that copy paste. Now, let's switch back over to the Kickstarter page. No, actually, it seems like people aren't going to be asking questions on the Kickstarter page. I thought they might, but that's okay. Let's go on ahead and snag some more questions. I don't need that page anymore. Snag some more questions from the question queue. Control. All right. Have you? Zip. Copy. Paste. Yes. Go away. Here. No, I just copied. Dang it. All right. Zip, copy, and now copy out. It's such a shame YouTube makes one jump through all these hoops. All righty. Now, what was I just talking about? I was talking about Rodney. I know. So let's just go back there. All righty. And then focus marks. Let's see what else is new. Most interested in trying. How did you get into board gaming reviewing on YouTube? What has been your inspiration for it? Well, I think that's on faq.rahdo.com, frequently asked questions.rahdo.com. But in a nutshell, a few years ago, after I shipped Brink, and then I ended up working on Marvel Secret Wars for a couple of years, or about a year, but that got canceled. Still breaks my heart to this day, Disney. Oh, that was going to be the crowning game of my video game career. Marvel Secret Wars, an online multiplayer. Oh, it was going to be amazing. But anyway, so that got canceled, and that was kind of a big crushing blow for me. I said, okay, I'm done with video games. I can't do it anymore after that rug got ripped out from underneath me. So I retired, and that lasted for all of like 3 months before a job offer came along that brought me to Malta, and I just couldn't say no to that. But for 3 months, for 3 brief months, I was retired because I'd had enough. And during that time, I was thinking, well, geez, what am I going to do now that I'm retired? I'm only in my 40s. And I got to have something to pass the time. And at the same time, I saw somebody had posted asking Joel Eddy of Drive Through Review, hey, Joel, are you going to do a run through or a video of review of Helvetia? And Joel said, yeah, maybe someday if I ever pick it up. And I'm like, well, I have a copy. There it is. Where is it? It's in my Cosmos games. Right there. There it is, right there. I can do that. Why not? I've got an iPhone. Let me give it a try. And so I just gave it a try because somebody asked. And then, a few people like that. And then people asked, well, hey, can you do another one? And I did another one, another one. It just spiraled. And I quickly realized, oh, this is how I can pass my time. This can be, I didn't start out with the intention of it being a job, but it is now a job. This is my career now, make no mistake. But yeah, I just started out doing it for fun because I just needed to pass the time. Because you have a lot of time when you're retired. Let's see, find next. Boop. Which games have you helped produce in your career or by yourself? Well, you can go to linkedin.com/Richard Ham, and you can see my CV there. But yeah, I was in the video game industry for about 20 years. When I was at Nintendo, I was a tester. I worked on like Metroid for the Game Boy and Super Nintendo football. Remember that weird isometric football game they had? And I was a tester, but then I was the lead designer on Siphon Filter, on Sims for console, on Pitfall: The Lost Expedition, on Fable 2, on Brink, and I also worked on Shark Tale and the movies, and Siphon Filter 1, 2, and 3 actually. And worked on and those are just the games that actually shipped. The games that didn't ship, like I said, there was Marvel Secret Wars. There was, oh man, we were so close to signing Inception. That was going to be amazing as well. Inception, the video game, because I love that movie so much. Actually, I got to spend like 3 days hanging out with Christopher Nolan and his wife and his brother, they're his producers, just in a room talking about what we would do for Inception, the video game, and how we would keep telling the story. That was mind-blowing. That was an absolutely, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Plus, I got to see Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio and his family. So that was all very cool. Let's see. Have you ever made a game? Yes, I've made a lot. I just talked about that. What is the worst game I've ever played? I'm going to assume that's a board game question, not a video game question. Well, I go out of my way to avoid playing bad games. I do my due diligence, and I confirm they're good before I waste my time, or even worse, my wife's time playing it. However, I can think of one that snuck through the cracks, and I might have to give it to Hengist, Hengist, that came out last year. It's an Uwe Rosenberg game from Lookout Games. I just bought it sight unseen, or I picked it up. It was a review copy, and I feel really bad about that. Whenever I do get review copies, I always work really, really hard to make sure I do a video because, they gave me a copy, but man, it was just so terrible, and I just have nothing nice to say about that game at all. But supposedly there have been some new rules tweaks that make it better. I haven't tried them yet. My fingers are crossed because it's a pretty little game. It's a lovely little 2-player game, but oh man, it was just absolutely, it was terrible. If you do anything with Periscope, will you save it to your phone's camera roll? Yes. If I do Periscopes, make no mistake, my understanding is I do have the ability to grab them as the person who created it. I think you can grab it off the Periscope site and then upload it to YouTube. I'm pretty sure that's the case, and that would definitely be my intention. I would not want them just to disappear into the ether because that sucks. Let's see here. Next up, what is my favorite game mechanism? Deck building, worker placement, co-op, etc. It used to be hand management for card games, or more specifically, the mechanism of I want to play this card from my hand, which means I have to discard other cards from my hand. To me, which you see in tons and tons of games, tons and tons of card games. It's a really common thing. It's a brilliant mechanism. It just works so great. But recently, in the last year, I have fallen head over heels in love with dice drafting, and at this point, I am pretty confident that is my absolute fave gameplay mechanism. Doot. What TV series are you watching right now? Well, Daredevil. Hold on a second. Let me take a look. Because I'm such a freak, I keep a list, don't I? Oh, I was really, really enjoying, what's that? The Circus? Man, that was really, really good. I can't wait for it to start up again. I always watch Saturday Night Live. I'm a huge fan. I always have been. Die-hard fan. Last Man on Earth, I really like. Jen loves survival shows like Survivor and Naked and Afraid, so we're always watching those. I haven't started watching the second season of Better Call Saul yet. Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., still watching that. Limitless, oh my God, that is so good. Such an amazingly good show. Jen loves it because she's a big fan of the Fugitive formula, where people in a weird circumstance every week decide to help somebody. And that's what Limitless is. But Limitless is so outside the box. It's so funny. It really just plays with the genre. I really, really enjoy that. Really enjoying that. I think the season's almost over, or it might have already ended. Let's see. Oh, Veep is about to start. Excited about that. Of course, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. My list of shows. I mean, you'd be better off asking what shows don't I watch, quite frankly, because I am an addict. We get all the streaming over here. In fact, to be able to watch all these shows, through Amazon and Hulu and, CBS.com and all that stuff, I actually, since we're in Malta, I'm not in America, I have a proxy service that costs me, I think, like $8 a month that spoofs, that makes it look like I'm living in America so I can actually watch these shows even though I live abroad, because I gotta have them. Gotta have them. All righty. What was your most expensive board game and how much was it, and was it worth it? Well, actually, my really expensive video game or board games I've been selling recently because I'm out of space, and I just, I got rid of Fury of Dracula 2nd edition. I recently got rid of Key Market, and I was selling those for like $200 or $300 because they're just out of print, and I just couldn't in good, because I'm retired, and yeah, we just made a lot of money. I mean, thank you, by the way. Thank you. I don't think I've said thank you so much to everybody backing. I should have said that right at the end of the countdown. Oh, I am the absolute epitome of unprofessionalism. But anyway, thank you very much for backing me. But still, to retire this young, I can't afford to keep games that I can sell. Probably the most expensive game I own right now is Runebound 2.0 with probably, I've got about $500 worth of content for the 2nd edition. I've got almost all the big boxes, including Midnight and most all the card things. And I'm thinking I'm going to sell those next time I'm in America because, well, one, I have Runebound 3rd edition sitting right there, and I'll probably be playing it next month. But I just can't justify keeping. I mean, I've got over 300 games that I love. So yes, I loved Key Market. I loved it to death. Did I love it more than whatever I got it for, $200? No. I love the $200 more. Right. So, have you been enjoying your team ups of other board game content providers? Yes. Is there a content provider you haven't worked with whom you'd like to? Oh, I'd love to work with all of them. Yeah. So who have I did a thing with Joel Eddy. That was great. What was it? It was Madeira. That was ridiculous because I think we ended up talking for an hour in my final thoughts, but that was just a good, fun time. And I've appeared on the Alaboom, the weekly Alaboom, several times whenever I'm in the same time zone as them. So that means I'm basically working with a whole bunch of guys. I love all of them. And obviously the Dice Tower, and I just did the thing with Nick. But yeah, I would love to work with who? I mean, with Rodney? I'd love to work with, well, the Starlit Citadel girls, except they've retired now. Tiffany Ralph, Gray Elephant, Bauer, Bauer's Game Corner. I mean, I love all these people. I mean, I'd love to, over the years now, it seems like we've been talking about for quite a while. Lance Meister, the Undead Viking, I have been talking about, hey, we should try to figure out somehow to do a Siskel and Ebert type show. Him and me, over Hangout or something like that, because we have a lot agree on, we have a lot we disagree on, and we both enjoy arguing with each other, and I really wind him up, and I think he complains about it, but I think he loves it. So, I mean, I'd love to work with everybody. It's just fun. It's just a blast. I love talking about games, and I love my wife, and I love playing with her, but as a general rule, she doesn't want to talk about games very much. She's just, right, I'll sit down and I'll play it, but now I'll go back to my life, or we'll play another game. So I'm always looking for people to talk to, and that's why I enjoy doing the co-host thing so much. Next up. What games did you help design in your career? Talked about that earlier. And again, you can go to LinkedIn/in/Richard Ham and find out. Any interest in playing Star Wars Rebellion? No, totally not in my jam. A game where we're going to sit down for 2 hours and all our thought is going to be bent on, right, how can I confound your plans? How can I figure out what it is you're trying to do and stop you so that I can win? That is the antithesis of fun for both me and Jen. So I don't think that'll ever happen. Really want to thank you for writing videos. Question. Are there any games you're particularly excited to try later this year? Yeah, well, we talked about that earlier. Go to guild.rahdo.com, and up at the top of the page, there will be a link to my 2016 games of interest. You'll see, I think the list must be up to around 200 games at this point. You think I would have gotten some water ahead of time. What two-player game do you really want to play that Jen is not interested in because of theme? That's a good question. I'm going to get a drink of water, and I'll be right back to answer that question because I'm so thirsty. Oh, let's see. Theme. Well, Jen, I don't know if anybody can hear me at this point, but Jen hates things that give her a machine gun. Can't stand her. So, you know, I don't particularly have a problem with war games. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be adverse to Twilight Struggle, as an example. I mean, I'd be curious to. Oh, actually, we did try. Well, actually, we tried. Sat down, I learned it. Spent 20 minutes explaining it to her, and by the time the end of the explanation, I said, "Yeah, I'm not going to play this." So, well, I don't think I'd necessarily like Twilight Struggle. It's definitely something I'd like to try. Oh, man. So, probably based on theme, it'd be games that feature guns, because Jen is just vehemently opposed to guns. Let's see. Cat is, if Dobby needs a feline overlord. I like cats. I had cats growing up. I know Jen does too, but we're both diehard dog people. That's just the way we are. What about a sign, a Rahdo sign of excellence for games? People who watch my show regularly may have noticed I spend an inordinate amount of time telling people, please disregard my personal opinion about games, watch the run through and decide for yourself. I mean, I'd save myself a whole lot of trouble if I just turned on the camera and just pontificated about what I think, whether I like a game or not. But I do the run through so that people can decide for themselves, because who cares what I think? So yeah, some kind of seal of excellence that people would actually put on a box, that doesn't sit well with me. People should, I mean, I'm just a geek. Yeah, I play a lot of games, so sure, take my opinion into account, but I'm just one guy. Yeah. How do you organize games on your shelves? For the most part, by company. Like, here's all the what's your games. Here's a bunch of Cosmoses. Here's the Astaris. You know, by size, by company, and in a few cases by designer. You know, Stuff and Feld games, I try to put them next to each other. What happened to Thrash and Roll? Can it be bought somewhere? What's going to happen is, very oddly, there's going to be another crowdfunding campaign for the sequel to it, or the reimplementation of it. I forget what it's called, but again, you can go to my 2016 Games of Interest that I've mentioned a couple times now. It's listed in there. So that will be an updated version with tweaks to the rules and new features and whatnot. I'm looking forward to getting my upgrade pack, because I do still have my Thrash and Roll right there, rock on. But so people who missed out on the original one, you're going to be able to get an even better, like a Thrash and Roll 1.5. That's going to be coming soon. And again, you can go find it on my Games of Interest list to find out more. What are the best games to travel with? Someday, the voters, and maybe some of you new voters are here, every month I do a top 10 vote. And top 10 travel games has come up several times, but it never gets the votes. I'd be happy to do it. But I haven't really thought about it. I mean, it's going to be, for us, it's going to be small footprint games that you can fit into a very tiny face, and they don't take up much space on a table, because you never know where you're going to play, but that provide a lot of gameplay. There's not going to be a lot of little light ones, because when Jen and I go on the road, if we're actually someplace where we're going to be able to play a game, we're going to want to sit down and play a big meaty game, not just some little throwaway trifle. Like for years, the go-to we always took with us was Caelus Magna Carta, as an example. But no, I've never actually sat down and made a definitive list. Someday it'll get the top 10 votes, and I'll do the list then. If you had to, like, where would you like your second, third home in the U.S. to be located? For me, Seattle, or the Pacific Northwest in general. Maybe Colorado. Not for any wacky tobacco reasons. I'm a total abstainer. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Not because I cast any aspersion. I mean, I'm all for libertarian. Hey, everybody do whatever you want as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. I just don't do it because I know I am very weak-willed. If I ever got a taste for that stuff, it'd be game over. So, but Colorado, I mean, heck, I've always loved it ever since Mork and Mindy. I've always kind of wanted to live there. Jen, she often talks about Santa Fe. That's a big, big draw to her, Santa Fe. And also Sedona, both of which are in New Mexico, I believe. And of course, she likes Pacific Northwest. But I know when we've talked about in the past, I mean, her mind always just goes to Santa Fe. She's got Santa Fe and Sedona on her mind. Let's see here. Of course, Indianapolis or the surrounding area would be really, really nice, just since it's kind of like the center of the board game universe in the States. That'd be kind of nice also. Given your definition of Ameritrash and Euro games, how would you categorize simulation games? Phil Eklund's race. Those are Euros. Phil Eklund, as far as I'm concerned, makes Euro games. And yeah, race Formula 90, that's totally a Euro game as far as I'm concerned. Those are hardcore Euro games. I mean, maybe Race Formula 90 is a hybrid, maybe, but it feels mostly Euro to me. For a lot of people, to say it's a Euro means that it can't have theme, or it has to have a lightly pasted on theme, or it has to have a boring theme or whatever. I do not hold truck with that concept. Chosen theme or thematic integration has nothing to do with the definition of a Euro to me. Do you ever purchase games blind, and do you use reviews to help you decide? No. Money is tight. I don't purchase games blind at all. Like I said earlier with Hengist, I will accept review copies blind, but heck, I rarely even do that. I really try and do my research. I try to read the rule book as often as not. Or the main thing I go on would be track record of the designer, to a lesser extent the publisher, but mostly the designer. Trying to read the rules wherever possible. And yeah, I watch everybody. If there's a game I'm interested in, any video that comes out, I'll watch it. I'll even watch the ones in foreign languages that I can't understand, in the hopes that I'll be able to turn on CC and have it auto-translate to English, and I'll be able to understand something from that. So I spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours every week researching games. And it's interesting, I talked about, I had that 2016 list of games that are interesting. That's a list of every game that I've ranked a 1 must have, 2 want to have, 3 like to have on the 1 to 5 scale for Board Game Geek that I've rated a 1, 2, or 3. If you look in my wish list, I've got like another 600 games that I've rated 4 that I think, well, that sounds interesting, but I really need to research that before I can decide if it gets bumped up to a 3. So I got a lot of research to do. What is the game you hate most? I don't hate. I'm not a hater. What do I hate? I really, really, really did not enjoy Arkham Horror. I've tried Arkham Horror, I think, 4 times now. By the way, I'm saying Arkham Horror. And at no point did I even like it the tiniest smidgen. I did play, what was it? The Game of Thrones, the big epic Game of Thrones diplomacy style game. I really did not enjoy that at all. When you ask me what games have I hated playing, those are the 2 that pop into my mind off the top of my head. Do you think you'll ever come to the UK Games Expo again? Well, I'll never come again because I've never actually been there. So do I think I'll ever go? Yes, I certainly hope to. Every year, Jen and I talk about doing it. And it was actually, when I was thinking about what the stretch goal, the last stretch goal, which was for the convention in Portugal that we're going to go to now, we thought very hard, but the problem is, I think it's the first week of June. We could not make it this year. It very likely that would have been the convention I would have made my top stretch goal, my 50K stretch goal. But since we were busy that week for a really ridiculous thing, which I'm very embarrassed about, but since we're busy that week, I went with the Portugal con. But maybe next year. I really would love to go. I'd be very, very excited. I just love to go to England. I haven't been to England for 3-4 years now, and I miss it. Would you purchase Tricarion since you gave away the prototype? Well, I won't purchase it because I got it right here. Yay. Oh, you can't see it. There we go. I think Tricarion is really, really great. I do have it. I've looked up what all the changes were. I think the stuff I complained about in the earlier run through, from what I read, I think it's going to be solid. The only problem is this game, it's beautiful. I love the theme, and the gameplay was really clever. But any game that's going to take me and Jen 3+ hours, it's very, 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 very hard. And it is very unlikely it's going to make it to the table. It's a rare game that is good enough to prompt Jen and me to do that. And I mean, I think Tricarion is absolutely awesome. I think it's not good enough to get us to play a 3. Well, for us, I mean, I'm sure other people could finish it faster. But that's really, I think at this point, my only real complaint about it. Too long. Let's see. Any news about the trip you were planning to do next year? Oh, yeah, Jen talks about that a lot. Or let's see, I don't know if you mean like if I'm going to do a convention next year. Like I said, next year, maybe it'll be a UK convention. As for the trip, it's something Jen and I talk about a lot, the notion of we've got a camper van just sitting in a friend of ours' barn back in England. They're very kind. They let us store it there. And we've done 3 or 4 big road trips with it, and we really love to do another. And we keep talking about that if we do that, we do another road trip, you know, through England or through Europe or something like that, that we'd be gone for a couple months. And how would I continue to do Rahdo Runs Through? And Jen's answer is always, oh, well, while we're on the road, we will be on Board Game Geek, interfacing with friendly local game stores wherever we're going to go, or just fans of Rahdo Runs Through wherever I go, because I've got fans, you know, in most every country. And we would try to organize, you know, detours to stop at people's places and play and film games at their places or at shops. And so that's the dream. But I don't know. You know, we talk about it a lot, but, you know, it's easy to talk about stuff. But inertia is a powerful force. Strong are the ways of inertia. Is there a board game you still play these days from 2014 and earlier, or do you only play the newest games always? Well, for the most part, yeah, we only play the newest games because I'm always playing the new games that I've just gotten. And I've talked about this before. We very rarely have time to go back and play games that are older. And that's not because we don't want to. I mean, to answer your question, I would love to, but my job precludes me from doing that very often. Let's see. Is there a board game you still... All right, no, that was that question. Ooh, okay. We need to get some new questions. Let's go back to the well and do some copying and pasting. All righty. All right. Control-All, Control-C. All right, and let's see. Control-All, Control-V, Control-F, 2014. Let's see if I can find that question. 2014 was in there, I believe. Yes, there we go. And now find question mark again. And I'm back into it. All right, let's continue. Heard anything yet about Tim Fowler's new game? Fugitive? No. Actually, that's not entirely true. I haven't heard anything directly from Tim. I've only met him once. And I've talked to him a couple times via email when he sends me a prototype like he did for Burgle Brothers and whatnot. But I don't really know Tim very well. But I am in, even though I'm not in the video game industry anymore, I am in a secretive, closed, invite-only video game developer discussion forum. I'm actually in a couple of them. And that's how I kind of keep in touch with the video game industry, just in case things ever change and I have to go back to working full-time for a living. So I need to keep my finger on the pulse and keep my contacts open. And in one of them, Tim Fowler is a video game developer as well. And so a bunch of guys know him. And there's a few threads where people are always talking about his latest games. So I've heard a little bit about it there. But I don't think I could really talk about that because I probably shouldn't even have mentioned the existence of the secret forum that I am in. Shh, don't tell anybody. Fine, next. There aren't many of us here, and Jen is not around to stop you. What's the real story behind it? I am sorry. That is a nice try, Stephen Grady. But Jen will see this eventually. Oh, actually, you know what? She won't. She would not. She's not going to watch this. And like I said, she's in transit right now. But no, I'm not going to do it. I love her too much. It's important to her. So even though I think it's a little silly, there's plenty of things I think are important that she thinks are silly. So I'm sorry, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. But it's so not a big deal. It's such a misdemeanor silliness thing. What do I think about Star Trek Ascendancy? I think it's a shame that I'm not going to like it because it's a 4X game, and I love the exploration, the expansion, and the exploitation, but don't care for the extermination. So I'm not even going to look at it. I've paid zero attention to it, other than looking at some screenshots saying, "Oh, that looks really cool." The star lanes between the planets, but I'll never play it. Do you binge on 4-player games and combat games when you are traveling? Is it for review, insight for the hotness, or actually I don't really? It's interesting. It's odd. I keep going to these conventions, and I play very, very few games. I have every intention of playing games, and I have every intention of, while I'm there, playing the games I can't play here, but it just never works out. I always end up spending more time, talking to the show organizers so that when I do a little run-through of the thing, I can actually talk about the show and what their plans are so I can give you, the viewing audience, a better idea of what the show is about. When I did MeepleCon, what did I play? First thing I played, Dungeon Pets. Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to play a game. I'm just looking around for something I hadn't got a chance to play before. And then I see, oh, there's some people setting up Dungeon Pets. Oh, my God, they're reading the rules. You can't sit down and read the rules for Dungeon Pets. All right. And so I ended up playing it with them for 2 hours. And that was 2/3 of my time there. Although I did end up playing Karuba. That was nice. Yeah, so that's always my intention, but it never happens. It's crazy, man. Can you tell any fun stories about geocaching or something? I think most of us enjoy your stories. Best geocache ever done. Okay, well, the best geocache hide that we ever found was out in the forest, as they always are. You always feel like you're on the set of The Walking Dead whenever you're out trying to find a geocache. And the trick was, what they had done is, we found the GPS position. It was pretty easy to find, but the hide was a shoe, and then there was like a little Tupperware thing inside the shoe, and the shoe was hung like 30 feet off the ground in a tree, and you could barely see it amongst all the foliage. And then there was a line that ran through the foliage down over to a corner, and you had to find the line and let it out to release the shoe to get to the thing. That thing was amazing. And I mean, it took us forever. And we eventually had to look at the clue, how you can hit the button and then show the clue. And it was still kind of this cryptic thing about, looking for a shoe or something. We had no idea. And that was absolutely brilliant. But the best geocaching we ever did was, if I recall correctly, I think it was my 35th birthday. We were living in Austin, Texas at the time. And Jen coordinated with some random guy who did a lot of geocaches in the Austin area. And he helped her out. She ended up making a series of geocaches that we ended up doing on my birthday that led from one to the next to the next to the next, that ultimately got my that got to my present. And honestly, I don't remember what the present was, but it was such a wonderful, fun day. And obviously because Jen had put so much work into it, and it was all very personalized based on stuff from our our relationship and our history. That was actually really, really cool. That was absolutely awesome. All righty. How is it possible to retire at 40? Well, I believe, if I recall correctly, it was at 44. So you just need those 4 more years. No, the trick to retiring early: 1, don't have kids. That if I had kids, I would not be retired right now. Dogs are much cheaper, and they provide you just as much affection. And yeah, maybe we don't get quite everything, but ignorance is bliss. What we get out of dogs is enough for us. And 2, get a high-paying job in the video game industry and make a series of big multi-million unit sellers and collect a lot of royalties on those. And then, unlike everybody else on your team, don't go out and buy a Porsche. Instead, invest. And that is what I've been doing since my mid-20s. Siphon Filter was a big hit. Sims was a big hit. Fable was a big hit. I mean, all my games have done well, and a lot of them have done really super well. And Jen is a bear. Jen and I are both incredibly frugal. I mean, our entire lives, we are always looking for ways to save money. Even when we were making tons of money, we almost never ate out, even though we could afford it, because it was expensive. Our whole adult lives, we've lived like we have the budget of a college freshman trying to make ends meet in a dorm. That's just the way we've always lived. So we've been incredibly frugal, and I've been ridiculously successful on the games that I worked on. And that was equal parts luck, equal parts the skills and abilities of, I was lucky enough to work on teams with really talented people, and the games were good. So, and they were in the right place at the right time. So that is how I did it. Simple as that. When I asked about a trip, I meant the road trip you were planning to cross Europe. Yes, and so I did answer that question. Is it happening next year? It's hard to say. Actually, when Tula died, the really thing that started us talking about was if it's time to move back to the States, in all honesty, because, because thoughts of mortality. Jen's parents are getting older. My mom is getting older. We're halfway around the world from them and stuff like that. So that's kind of where our thought processes are these days, in all honesty. Not that that's a commitment to anything one way or the other. I know you made a run through for Dogs, which is getting a reprint. Yay. Are you familiar with any other Brazilian games? Well, I just did a run through for Me Tierra, which is a neat little, Agricola Light, for lack of a better term. That was that was a pretty neat game. See, so those 2 pop into my head. Man, there was a game I remember came out a few years ago, and I'm trying to remember what it was now. It had something to do with a radio, or what was it? It was on my wish list forever, and I was always hoping that it was like, I think, no, we weren't radio broadcasters, but I remember it had something to do with radio airwaves or something. And I was really, really intrigued by that. But it never came out. So, or it never, made it beyond Brazil or Chile. So South America, wherever it was. So I know a few. I don't follow them avidly because it's impossible to get them. And if they're not language independent, they're impossible to play. Let's see here. You ever played the Ankh Morport game? Have you played it recently? I asked because I got the game for Christmas, and it's now my favorite game. It's a really neat game, but no, I don't own it. There's a guy, remember I was talking earlier, where there's 15 people in Malta I know who play board games. One of them, Dave Chirkop, who is the designer of Pursuit of Happiness, and then They Held Hands, lives here in Malta. He had it. And so the reason I even did it, I had never played it before, I think. No, I had played it once when I was still in England, when I was still working at Splash Damage. But anyway, I hadn't played it for a long time. And it's not a really good two-player game as far, and Jen's in my opinion. It's just, it really needs to have a lot of players. The more players, the better, because of all the crazy chaos. The only reason I did it is because Terry Pratchett had died. And I thought, oh, well, it'd be really nice, and I kind of tangentially know Terry Pratchett's daughter, Rihanna Pratchett, because she's in the video game industry, and and so we have friends of friends and stuff like that. And so I was really thinking about that a lot, and I thought, well, gosh, I should do a run through for that. I should just do that, and that's why I did it. But yeah, it's really not a game for me and Jen. I mean, if we had a big group of players to play with, I think it'd be a blast. Can you tell us a little more about Inception, the video game? Was it going to be a shooter, an RPG, or what? It was going to be a first-person shooter because that's when I was working on Brink. That's what we signed to do. The how to describe it? Well, basically what we were going to do was we were going to expand the fiction so that it was a team-based game. It was a team-based multiplayer game that if you wanted, you could play offline, and it would have a single-player campaign and all that. But it was, when I was at Splash Damage, our primary focus on Brink and enemy territory and whatnot was multiplayer first-person shooters. And it might have been a third person, but it was probably going to be a first person, but we hadn't gotten far along with that. But the notion was that it was continuing on from the series. There was a new set of characters. We were hoping we would be able to get, not Leonardo DiCaprio, but one of the principal characters is being like a voiceover, kind of introduce stuff and that kind of thing that you see in crossovers. But the notion was, it was in the world where, this was a common thing. There were people besides the group we saw in the movie that do jobs like this, and you were going on jobs to do this. But how did this work? The conceit was, because they talk about this in the movie, right? Spoiler alerts for Inception, minor spoilers. They talk about how, high-level executives and whatnot, like, their mark, can get trained to have countermeasures for how to, stop, mind theft from happening. And so the assumption was that the technology had advanced and the training had advanced so that you and I could be playing. I'm playing on the thief team. I'm playing on offense. You're playing on defense, and you actually represent. I forget. It's been so long. I forget what all the terms were, but I knew all the terminology and all the technology behind it. You got to play as the drones who, as soon as they died, another one would pop up. So there were a group of players. It was almost kind of, I think, it was very Brink inspired for people who played that. But if you haven't, it was very Left 4 Dead inspired, where there was a team going through trying to deal with drones, and if the drones were killed, then they'd be able to pop right back in because and the thief characters, they had to that's what it was. Because we were going to have big focus on crowds, and as long as you could stay under, there was going to be a stealth element. But it was really, really awesome. And we were going to do the Dream Within Dream Within Dream thing. The first one was always just going to be a straight up kind of like a team deathmatch thing. That was just like the big, fast, in your face, shoot 'em up. But if you made it through that and jumped into the second dream were going to be like puzzle levels. The one we pitched was the notion of being in an art gallery, but doing all the weird Escher style, running on walls and ceilings and flipping the world upside down, and sneaking around, trying not to draw attention to yourself. And again, you could have the other team be actively looking for you. So as a player, you actually had to play and act almost like a robot, like an AI bot, so that you wouldn't draw attention to yourself because they were trying to find you. That was really cool. And then the third level dreams were going to be what we specialized in, objective-driven storytelling in multiplayer format. It was really, really cool. We pitched him on the big hurdle we had to overcome with Nolan was we had to pitch him 2 files, 2 dossiers of 2 missions you would go on to prove to him that we understood the rules and that we would treat with respect, which we did because we loved the game, the franchise, and make something that was appropriate. And he really, really liked the 2 cases we came up with. And, you know, we liked how we kind of expanded the world and hypothesized about other things that could happen because of this technology existing. And so we spent days with him talking. It was oh man. The reason it fell through, I can probably talk about this now because this is years ago. We actually, you know, we got the green light from him. Because he had, you know, he's Christopher Nolan. He gets final say. So he signed off on us. You know, after we spent all that time with him, he believed that we understood and had the same passion for it that he did, because, you know, it was his passion project. And then we had to go through approval for, you know, the game publisher. Was it Warner Brothers? Yeah. Was it? Yeah. For Warner Brothers. And apparently, unbeknownst to us, there was some kind of pissing match between Warner Brothers and Christopher Nolan related to video game merchandising. That it went all the way back to Batman Begins, and how, you know, EA had worked on the Batman Begins thing. Or no. It was that the Arkham series. There was this whole big bad blood between them, and he was really pissed off. And basically, during the final green light process, they did something really. They literally said, "Okay, we've seen the pitch. You know, Christopher Nolan was there, and, you know, there's like this Star Chamber executives who are all signing off on the final pitch for our multi-million-dollar game. And you know, we made our pitch, and we had to leave because they were going to talk about it. And so we didn't see this firsthand. But apparently, what was told is the Warner Brother game executive said, "Chris, could you leave the room? We need to talk about this for a little bit." And that ticked him off big time. He was very unhappy about that and just put the kibosh on the whole thing. Now, that is crazy hearsay, because nobody from my company was there at the time. I've heard it from somebody else who was not in the room when it happened. That is our understanding. I'm sure it's not as simple as that, but that made the whole thing fall apart. And when we were this close, it was going to be an amazing game. But that let us actually sign with Disney to do Marvel Secret Wars, which honestly I was even more excited about, at being a lifelong Marvel fan. I was going to get a video game that was canon, but then that got canceled too, and then I quit. All right, but it was a shooter. It was a shooter with lots of RPG elements in it, definitely. Do you prefer very hot or very cold weather? Living in Malta, I guess hot. I actually like hot weather. Jen does not. Jen doesn't like hot or cold. She likes easy peasy, middle, cool, breezy. I like hot, but I also love snow. I'm not really picky. I'm good with anything. I don't mind humidity. I don't mind heat. I don't mind cold. I'm good with anything. Just mosquitoes. I hate mosquitoes, and there are too many mosquitoes in this country. All right. Can you have an Xbox, please? No. Do you like to analyze heady movies like David Lynch, Mulholland Drive, Enemy, Memento, etc.? Yeah. I mean, when I see a movie, it really gets to me. I mean, it stays in my head, and I mull it about. Actually, I'll be honest, what I really do is when there's some kind of internet outcry about, oh, this is terrible, this is awful, that's when I really start, really? Is it terrible? So actually, as an example, I just went and saw Batman versus Superman the other day, because Jen didn't want to see it at all, so she's gone, so I went and saw it. And oh my God, that movie's really, really good. The internet is stupid, and they just fundamentally don't get it. And so, you know, I spent a lot of time thinking about that, but I've made kind of an agreement with myself. It was a New Year's resolution I did a few years ago. Stop getting into arguments with people on the internet, because it just, nothing good comes of it. But I still can't stop my wheels from turning and coming up with, you know, having mock arguments in my head about, you know, the symbolism in the film, and the stuff that they deride is actually really, really central to the overall theme. And you know, they're just looking at it as a summer popcorn thing, and it's actually something more than that. So yeah, kind of, sort of, I guess. Oops, I skipped one. Let's go back. Boop. Let's see. Which IP do you love to see a game which isn't mainstream, a non-mainstream IP? Non-mainstream IP. Thundar the Barbarian. Easy peasy. Set and match. Ariel, Ookla, Ride. Demon Dogs, Lords of Light. The Pearl. Yeah, Thundar the Barbarian. Totally. Can I have an Xbox, please? Oh, so Kringo Bingo is some kind of bot, isn't he? I guess I got to come over here and ban him, don't I? Let me see if I can find him. Kringo. Oh, nope. Oh. Control F. Kringo Bingo. Oh no, he's asking real questions too, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. I'm only looking for question marks, so But no, Kringo, you cannot have an Xbox. I don't understand. I don't understand. Kringo Bingo. I just need to stop talking about you. Oop. Let's see. Do you think of a collaboration with Bored with Life or Shut Up and Sit Down? Yeah, I'd love to do that. I mean, I spent hours, it felt like, talking to the Bored with Life guys when I was at BGG-Con last year, talking to them about the behind the scenes and what their plans are. And my God, they're just wonderful, wonderful, funny guys. As funny as the show is, they're funny in real life too. I mean, Donald is just ridiculously hysterical, and I love all of them. So yeah, I would love to. Man, I wish they'd asked me to be in season 2, but I guess Rich Summer has a little more pull. I understand. Go for the Mad Men guy. Although to Jen, he's the elementary guy. But yeah, I mean, I would love to. And yeah, Shut Up and Sit Down. I often don't agree with their assessment of the games, but I cannot fault their passion and their commitment, and all that. So yeah, I think they're great. I love them. I would love to work with anybody. Have you played Keep Talking to Nobody Explodes? You would love that game. You're right. We would. And we do. That is the first video game in probably 7 or 8 years that I have absolutely loved, and Jen has as well. We absolutely adore it. My plan was, or one plan was, since we knew she was going to be in England when this was ending, was that she was going to take a laptop and we would actually do a live playthrough over Hangout with people watching on both sides, me trying to be the operator, giving the directions, her wherever she is in England, actually trying to defuse the bomb. We thought that would be a blast, but the timing didn't work out. Will you talk about your time with the Dice Star Crew? Yes, in the next podcast, I will go into that in detail. What board game theme still hasn't been done very well? Is there a theme mechanic combo you would find particularly exciting? Well, video games is the obvious answer, but Ignacy is going to nail that to the wall, and I stand ready to assist him, and give him feedback and whatever insight information I can, so that when he converts pret-a-porter from a fashion industry game to a video game industry, I definitely plan on helping him in any way I can, because I already love the base game, and I think he's a great guy, and I bet that'll be a lot of fun to collaborate on that. And I happen to have a lot of knowledge that will hopefully be useful to him. Theme. Well, a theme mechanic combo. I'm really terrible at coming up with something like that. As a video game designer, I was always the guy who tried to stand on the shoulder of giants. I mean, Siphon Filter was the game that made me. It was my big breakthrough hit. What was Siphon Filter? That was me combining GoldenEye with Tomb Raider and seeing that, wow, GoldenEye does a lot of really cool stuff. Wow, Tomb Raider 1, the original Tomb Raider, does a lot of really cool stuff. If you meld these things together and then cross it with Antonio Banderas in Assassins, that was what Siphon Filter's pitch was. And also Chow Yun-Fat and Hong Kong cinema type stuff. You put all that stuff together, that was going to be an amazing, beautiful thing. But that was me blatantly copying and ripping off, and taking two great tastes that taste and making them taste great together. So I've always enjoyed, as a designer, working with somebody who's some kind of crazy outside the box visionary who just comes up with these amazing ideas that I would never come up with, because I'm really not that creative. My creativity comes more from figuring out how to make things work. I don't have this bottomless wellspring of ideas, but I do know how to make things work. And so trying to come up with an interesting game thematic combination is actually just not the way my brain is wired. So I'm gonna bail on that question. Have you seen that you have been added to Wikipedia? Oh, no, I haven't. I will have to look at that. I've made the Wikipedia, have I? Let's take a look-see. So if I just do a Wikipedia space Richard Ham, is that going to turn up something? It'd be Richard Hammond, like always. Oh, wait, no, you said I need Malta people. All right, so Richard Ham doesn't come up. Ah, man, I thought that was going to be... I'll look at it later. That's not exciting to watch me type. But no, that's cool. Thanks for the heads up. Yay me. I've made it if I'm in Wikipedia. Of course, I could just make anybody can make their own entry for Wikipedia. It's great. Actually, why don't people? Why doesn't everybody just make their own entry for Wikipedia and make that their online CV resume? Why doesn't everybody do that? Oh my God, what's wrong with you people? Totally do that. Tell your life story. Have you seen? Okay, moving down. I know the 4 games are going to be released in Robinson Crusoe based on. I would love the reset. Oh yeah. I'm super stoked about the Mars retheming, reimplementation 2.0 of Robinson Crusoe. Very excited. Cannot wait to try it. Cannot wait. Do you enjoy adult games like Cards Against Humanity, or the trend of adultizing games like categories taboo? You know, the interesting thing for me is I've always been confused this my whole life. Whenever somebody says, well, yes, this is an adult theme, and when I actually see what it is, it's the most opposite of that. It is implicitly immature and puerile. Whenever somebody says adult themes, I just know, no, it's going to be for children. It's just going to be, you know, lowest common denominator stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't begrudge anybody for enjoying that, but it's not adult. You know, and so no, I'm not particularly interested. I've got nothing against it, but I had a chance to play Cards Against Humanity once, and I'd rather play a real game. And again, not to disparage anybody who enjoys it. I totally appreciate that people enjoy that in the same way I appreciate people enjoy watching the football, and I don't enjoy that either. You know, different strokes. Let's see. What about Eldritch Horror? That must be a question for somebody else, because I've done a run through for Eldritch Horror. Whatever I think about it, you can see there. As Care Bear gamers, do we manage to enjoy dueling deck building games? Ashes, Rise of Phoenixborn. I had a chance to do Ashes. I passed. Just not interested. We're not interested in dueling card games. I get asked to do dueling card games, deck builder and non-deck builder varieties all the time, and I pretty much always say no. I say no to like 9 out of every 10 games that anybody asks me to do a run through for. Is this where we can type in questions to get answered? Yes, but only if you put a question mark on it. Are you attending BGG-Con this year? No, I'm afraid not. I mean, if I'm going to do a convention, I want to do one that I haven't done before, so I can provide new coverage instead of just going to the same place and covering the same stuff, which is tricky because I do go to Essen every year, and every year I try to find something new to talk about, and I'm running out of stuff there. That's tricky. Got any tips for video makers like myself? Stick with it and do something that makes you stand out, and don't go blue, and be English. Speak in English. And don't expect anything for the first year. You gotta put in the time. You gotta do a solid year of 50 or 60 videos before anybody's gonna take you seriously, before anybody's gonna bother to subscribe. That was the case for me. Actually, my big breakthrough was I'd been doing it for quite a while, had absolutely zero interest, and then the Penny Arcade guys mentioned me in a daily news thing, and that got me a lot of hits. But then the other big thing that put me over the top was I was the first video out there for Robinson Crusoe, actually, and that got a lot of attention. But by the time those had come out, I had already done tons and tons and tons of stuff. So people who stumbled across me said, oh, that's interesting. Oh, and he's got a bunch of other stuff. Well, maybe I'll stick around and subscribe. And that's what it takes. You know, I mean, if you've got 50 videos and you've been doing it for a year, and by that point you don't have 500 subscribers, then there's something else wrong, and you need to change your formula or come up with something else. Let's see, what is the longest game you have played that you and Jen play fairly often? That'd be Agricola. I've played Agricola probably 30 or 40 times, but most of those times were from the time before Rahdo Runs Through, when I had time, when Jen and I would play 2 or 3 big long games every week. And so Agricola gets that. These days, I would like it to be Forge War because we absolutely love that game. But again, even with the new short rules, it's still a crazy long game. And Nations, oh man, love Nations. I don't know whether you, if not, can you tell me a little bit more about Inception video game? Nope, sorry, Jason, I just hadn't gotten there, but I've gotten there now. Sorry. What was the plan? Alrighty, oh, time for more questions. Let's see here. Control A, delete all that business. Come over here. Oops, select all, control copy. Come over here, control paste again. Do a search for Inception. Search up instead of down, notepad. Called wraparound, and then go back to searching for question marks. Question marks down. Boop, 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 boop. Okie dokie. Let's see, Sean, you're very rude. Don't like that. If you go to Gen Con, sorry, I won't be going to Gen Con. The best mythology-themed game in your collection, Elysium, I believe. I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure Elysium is at the top. You can go to games.rahdo.com, where I've got 300 games ranked in terms of favorite to least favorite. And I think Elysium is in like the top 20 or maybe top 30. A Karuba, am I planning to do a run through for it? I wanted to pick that up at Essen last year, but the voters did not choose for me to pick that one up, so I didn't buy it. So it was never going to get a run through because Haba doesn't care about me at all. I tried reaching out to them saying, hey, I do videos. Would you like to give me a review copy? They didn't even bother replying. I'm dead to them. And the voters only had me pick up Adventureland, which I loved. Recently, we did our final buy vote for year 4, and Karuba made the list. So now I will be picking up Karuba next chance I get, which will probably be in the next couple of months. But then it'll have to get votes to actually film, and that's the way it'll work. So it'll get there eventually. As for my thoughts, I thought it was very, very cool. I liked it. I played it at, I think I mentioned earlier, yeah, that's why you're asking. I played it at MeepleCon, played one game, and I thought it was really nice. And I think Jen and I would like it. I don't know that I like it more than Limes, which I know is spelled, I think it's the Maze, Limes. And I don't know if I enjoy it more than Augustus, but I did enjoy it. But I need to play it a few more times to see how it ranks in the whole bingo-inspired. Plus, there's Dingo's Dreams, which is another bingo-y type game. So it'd be interesting to see. Need to play it a few more times, but I will eventually run through it, yes. With your strong passion for board gaming after your video game career, do you wish you worked in the board game industry instead? No, I actually, my time in the video game industry has convinced me I'm glad I don't work in that industry. Because working for 20 years in the video game industry pretty much killed my enthusiasm for playing video games. I cannot play a video game now and turn off my video game developer head and just spend all my time evaluating games and thinking about what I would do wrong or being impressed by the cleverness of their design or puzzling out how did they work that out from a production point of view, and it kind of ruins games for me. I would hate for that to happen for me. I never want to know too much about what's you don't want to know how the sausage is made. I don't want to know how these things are made. I don't want to have a lot of inside information because already Rahdo Runs Through makes me study and evaluate more than I otherwise would. But it hasn't ruined the games for me yet. But yeah, working in the industry, that would put it over the top. Yes, Terry Pratchett died a while ago. I also, at that time, thought about trying to do something for Leonard Nimoy, who, if I recall correctly, had died like 2 weeks earlier. That was a bad couple of weeks. Can you think of any laptop games or video games that were recently received poorly that you somehow enjoyed? Oh, well, sure, probably. Well, video games, no, because the only video game I played for like the last 5 or 6 years. Actually, that's not true. We played and really enjoyed Keep Talking and No One Explodes. After I did my top 10 video run through, several people suggested a lot of video games I try, and I did say, okay, what the heck? I'll fire up my Steam account and I'll start downloading some of these things. And so I tried Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. I thought that was very, very cool, but I don't have an Xbox controller, so the keyboard implementation was atrocious. It was absolutely terrible, so it's practically unplayable if you didn't have an Xbox controller. So that could have been cool, but I just didn't want to buy the equipment to play it. And OSU turns out to be, that is a game I'm still playing every once in a while because you can just download MP3s and play Elite Beat Agents because you can retheme it to look like Elite Beat Agents with any song you like. It's amazing. I love it to death. But that's right. Games that were received poorly that I enjoyed. Oh, that happens all the time. The one that pops into my head, of course, would be Tiny Epic Defenders, which obviously there was that big whole story. Yeah, I'd have to look at a list, and I don't want to. Right. Can you buy a Rahdo t-shirt outside of the campaign? Yes, you can. I've always had, I forget what it's called, spreadshirt.com. I made a shop there like 2 years ago. You can find it at merch.rahdo.com, merch.rahdo.com. And you can go there. When I first made it, I think maybe like 10 or 15 people bought some shirts or some hoodies or whatnot. So it's there if you want it. But I don't make very much money off of those because I guess they're a premium service and the costs behind the scenes are very high and whatnot. But yeah, you can definitely go get them, and they have like you get back. I made a backpack and a baseball cap. I keep meaning to get one of those baseball caps because I should really have one. But merch.rahdo.com. How often do you and Jen play together? Well, I try to play almost every day. What did you say about the Ankh-Morpork game? That it is a neat game that needs more than 2 players. And that's it for question marks. Oh, I might be catching up. You people are slowing down. I might be able to get out of here soon. And then Dobby would get to go for a walk because she's been very patient. Oh, yes, it looks like that. Oh, yeah. I think I'm caught up. So, yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Yeah. I think that's going to be as good a place to stop as any, particularly because of this very terrible person. Danny123. I don't care for him at all. Had I known, I guess I would have banned him. But sorry, folks. Actually, my screen has stopped updating. I wonder, has this crashed? Let me come over. I also have it in this window, don't I? Yes, I do. All right. Right. Okay. All right. So this just get Danny123 out of. Sorry, I don't even know what Danny's problem was. Apologies, Danny, if I wasn't being entertaining for you. I hope you have a very nice day. What co-op games would you suggest for players? Disparities in general game experience. Pandemic is great, but I find strategic players tend to take control a lot and make the decisions. Well, if you're worried about alpha gamers, then I would suggest, well, first of all, Pandemic is not a problem if you play with the official rule. There is an official rule that most people ignore. You are not supposed to show anybody your cards. And that is there specifically to ensure that the alpha gamer jerk in your group, he can't give everybody directions because he doesn't know what everybody can do. Play like that, and Pandemic is going to get a lot better. But maybe the best thing to do is real-time cooperative games like Zombie 15 or Escape or Fuse. I just put the video for app today because there's just not enough time for people to take control. Have I played King Tabby lately? No, I don't have. I only have the prototype. I don't have the final product. Bring Dobby back as an encore. Yes, I will do that. And then Dobby will get to go for a walk. You hear that, Dob? So, coming on back. Oh, wake up, Dob. Here we go. Oh, here you are. Let's see. Are we on camera? Yeah, there she is. Oh, you see. Oh, I don't know if you can see this. Dobby is very old. She's 15, and she has lost almost all of her teeth. And recently, she lost her 2 canines here, which are the 2 that we were really hoping, but they had gone so bad. They were like causing infections in her gums and stuff like that. So we had to yank both of those 2. So she's got these 2 teeth and like 1 tooth back here, and that's it. Oh, but she's a good girl. See, she's got some pep, don't you, Dob? Oh, you're a good girl. So you'll notice now that these 2 teeth down here will catch her lips. And so every once in a while, you catch her giving you, she gives us lip now is what we like to call it. I call it an Elvis sneer, but Jen doesn't care for that. You can see those are pretty much her only teeth left. So she was just giving you all some lip there. And that's it. This is me. This is Dobby. We're all alone. Sun's starting to go down. So it is time to get this beagle out to walk the promenade, or maybe we'll walk the salt pans tonight. I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get there. Depends on where all the tourists are dropping all the food. She threw up this morning, and there was like a corn cob in there. We don't have any corn cob. She must have found it on the walk, and I just missed it. I mean, beagles are relentless, as any beagle lover knows. But I think that's it, folks. We're going to end it right there. Yay, Dobby. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks once again so much for all your support on the Kickstarter. Talk to you later. Oh, I got to get the button ready. So long. Got the button ready.